In Los Angeles, a city known for being the bank robbery capital of the world, a group of ex-Marines led by Ray Merriman hijack an armored car while the guards make a stop at a donut shop. The robbers try to execute a clean robbery, but one of the guards panics and goes for his gun, which initiates a shootout that results in the death of all of the guards. The police, who were alerted by the guard driving the truck, arrived at the scene and exchanged shots with the robbers. After multiple policemen were shot dead and one of Ray's men was fatally shot, the robbers escape with the truck. They were able to avoid detection with the help of Mac, one of the robbers' crew members, and a Western Telecal phone employee, who uses his access to provide intelligence support by tapping into the LAPD data feeds. They reach their shop in Wilmington and check the car for GPS. Ray receives news that one of his crew members who had been shot won't make it, and he gets angry about the unplanned complication. Then, he orders one of his crew members to go back and check on which phone organization will be responding. He hopes it won't be the major crime unit. After confirming the truck was clean, they opened up the truck and found it to be empty. Meanwhile, in San Pedro, Nick O'Brien, a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department detective, gets a call about the robbery at the donut shop after he saw his wife leave the house when she discovered that he was cheating on her. He arrives at the scene and investigates the robbery along with his team, the Major Crimes Unit. At the same time, Bosco, the robber who was responsible for firing the first shot the previous night, takes pictures of the crime unit members. Later, Bosco comes back to the shop and shows Ray the pictures. After searching Nick on his computer, Ray identifies him and notifies his men about their enemy, who is going to be hunting them. At the department, Ray and his team make the recently paroled Ray their primary suspect. They kidnapped Donnie Wilson, a bartender and one of the robbers responsible for driving the cars. Donnie wakes up and finds himself in a motel with Ray and his team, who are enjoying themselves with a couple of drinks and hookers. He tries to tell them they have the wrong gut, but they show him a photo of the guy talking with Ray, and Nick begins to interrogate him. After being intimidated using his past prison records and getting choked, Donnie confesses about being the getaway driver for Ray and his crew. Then, he proceeded to tell them everything he knew about the crew. In a flashback to the past, Donnie is introduced to Ray by Bosco, who recommended him for his driving skills. Ray tested his skill on the road using a Ford Mustang, and he was highly impressed. A week later, Donnie goes out with the crew for his first gig, where the crew steals a lot of money from a casino and a stadium, but Ray wants to use the money to do one more heist that will set them up for life. In the present, Donnie tells Nick that this is all he knows and that he is kept in the dark about the details of the crew's operation. Nick and his team let Donnie leave after telling him to continue what he is doing and reminding him they will stay in touch. After traveling back in a bus, Donnie gets a call from Ray, who sets the time and place of their next meeting. At the police department, Nick and his team identify the dead member of Ray's crew, Marcus Rhodes, and make the connection between him and Ray, since they were both imprisoned at the same jail. They gradually identify all of the robbers and discuss the common past all the robbers had, being United States Marine with different specializations and serving prison time. In the meantime, Ray picks up Donnie and explains about their next big heist, the Los Angeles branch of the Federal Reserve, a bank so heavily guarded and has never been robbed before. Ray explains to his crew about the security system in the Federal Reserve Bank. Instead of the enormous amount of cash that could easily be traced, he tells his crew that they will be robbing the $30 million untraceable old dollar bills that are removed from circulation every day. Donnie, who is being tailed by the major crime units, gets hired as a Chinese food delivery truck, which allows him to deliver food to the Federal Reserve Bank. He makes his first delivery and leaves after going to the toilet to hide some kind of package in one of the air ducts. Nick suspects Ray and his crew are trying to rob the Federal Reserve Bank, but Nick's teammates argue that Ray wouldn't try it, since it is an impossible thing to do. Nick and his team go to a Chinese restaurant, where Ray and his crew are having dinner with their families. Nick goes to their table, speaks about knowing Donnie at the gym, and taunts Ray, who gets upset and stands up to fight him. But Gus, one of Nick's team members, steps in and takes him away before he can cause trouble. Later that night, after the crew was back at the shop, Ray confronted Donnie about being a cop. He pulls out a gun and threatens to kill him unless he comes clean about Nick. Donnie tells Ray that Nick knows all about the crew and that he tried to make him talk, but he didn't tell him anything. After some moments full of tension, Ray lets him go and tells him to let Nick know that the next heist is on Friday. Donnie meets Nick and his team at a clothing store and tells them what Ray wants them to know. Nick comes face to face with Ray after sleeping with his girlfriend, who works at a strip club, but Ray walks past him and says nothing. Ray knew about the whole thing, and he was the one who used his girlfriend to set up Nick. On the day of the heist, Ray and his crew meet at the shop, and he gives Donnie some instructions on how to use an assault rifle. At the same time, Nick and his team arm themselves and get ready for the upcoming confrontation with the crew. In Montebello, Nick and his team wait outside the Paco Riviera Bank on Friday. Nick got the information about the place of the heist from Ray's girlfriend, and Ray arrived at the bank with his crew as expected. They infiltrate the bank, handcuff the people inside, and Ray gives an instruction to the bank manager, who calls the police and informs them about the hostage situation. The manager told the police to bring $10 million along with a helicopter and warned them that the hostages would be shot unless the demands were met. Nick gets uncomfortable when he hears about the hostage situation, since the crew has never done anything like this before. He tries to prevent the police from coming to the bank, saying they have the suspects under surveillance, but the police arrive at the scene and alert the robbers. When the FBI attempted to send a negotiator, the crew appeared to execute a female hostage. Nick gets angry and confronts the FBI officer about the negotiator. After a while, another member of the police department calls the bank and carefully asks for time to deliver the money, and Chopper as the special weapon and tactics team is seen preparing to infiltrate the bank. Ray agrees to give them time and calls Nick to tell him that he won't go to jail. Nick responds, saying he doesn't plan to arrest him. As Nick and the rest of the officers were looking at the plans of the building, the crew set off an explosion, and everyone thought the crew was accessing the vault. Nick notices the sewer line that has been sealed on a map and figures out the explosion was part of an escape plan. Despite the protests of the FBI, Nick quickly goes to the front door of the bank and the rest of his team follows. They find out that the female hostage is alive and a hole has been blown through the bank's floor. In the meantime, Ray and his closest partner, Ensign, arrive at the Federal Reserve Bank with a stolen armored truck and the stadium money. They pose as security guards from the Pico Riviera Bank, dropping off cash. They get inside the bank without being noticed, since the bank was notified about the drop-off by Mac. Ray checks everyone is in position, including Donnie, who is hidden inside one of the carts with the money and was wheeled into the counting room, and gives an order to execute the next part of the plan. Bosco, who infiltrated the room that supplies power to the Federal Reserve Building, disrupts the power, making it seem like a common electrical fault. Some of the staff in the counting room are given a break until the electricity is fixed, and then Donnie triggers an electromagnetic pulse to cause the cameras inside to malfunction. Donnie sneaks out and quickly puts the bills marked to be destroyed into a bag of plastics. Then he sends them out of the trash chute. After turning off the EMP device, he crawled through an air duct to the restroom and left the building in its delivery uniform. Ray and Ensign also leave the bank after signing the necessary paperwork. On the other hand, Nick and his teammates have checked the sewer line and found out the robbers have escaped. They eventually figured out the crew's real plan and head to the Federal Reserve Building as fast as they can. They find Donnie walking down the street and quickly grab him. Ray and his crew arrived at the Pacific Horizon salvage site, where they would collect the money after it was brought in a garbage truck. Nick beats up Donnie and forces him to tell him where Ray and the crew are. Simultaneously, Ray also gets news about Donnie's abduction from Mac. Ray decides to hang up the phone on Mac and leaves him to fend for himself. Ray and the rest of the crew burn their clothes and leave the salvage site, but Nick spots them and alerts his teammates. Later, they get stuck in a traffic jam, and Ray sees the special crime units following him in his side mirror. They put their vests on, arm themselves, and get ready to fight. Nick and his team also prepare themselves and engage Ray and his crew, who are trying to run away while shooting at the team. Bosco was killed, and Ensign bled out after being fatally shot. Nick also loses one of his men, but he doesn't catch Ray, as he was able to make a run. Nick chases Ray, and both exchange shots. After a while, Nick shoots Ray on his side and wounds him. After running out of bullets, Ray confronts Nick with his empty gun and forces him to shoot him. As he bleeds out, he reminds Nick about what he told him at the bank. After the shootout ends, Nick goes back to his car and discovers that Donnie, who was handcuffed to the handle of the car, has escaped. They check the plastic bag in Ray's car and find chunks of shredded money inside. The FBI informs Nick that every cash in the federal bank was accounted for. Nick visits the bar where Donnie used to work, and the bartender informs him that he had quit 2 days ago. After noticing the bar is frequently visited by the employees of the Federal Reserve Bank and seeing a picture of Donnie and his friends, including Mac, on the wall, Nick realizes that Donnie is the true mastermind behind the heists. Donnie was able to gather information from the employees, recruit Ray, and plan every detail of the robbery. He enlisted his friend's help to intercept the money, double-crossing Ray and his crew. After shipping the money to Panama and escaping to London, Donnie is seen working at a bar in front of a diamond exchange, his next big heist. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.